gold is indestructible, and we can account for about 98% of all of the gold that has ever been mined. We can also account for, I'm not saying that there might not be a surprise of store of gold somewhere in the ground, but we know pretty much all of the gold that's left to be mined. So it has no way, in no way, shape, or form does it matter how much is melted every year. What really matters is they're also going to look at it based on the presumed gold that they hold in deep storage. The only thing that we don't know is what that cover ratio is going to be, and therefore, in terms of the fiat dollar, how high that will go. But what we do know is the more debt, which is a proxy for how much currency, fiat money, is out there, that is a known. It's hard. You've got to gather it. If you really want to get specific, it's not like you can just go one place and get all that information. But we know how much debt is created each year. We know how much gold there is in the world. We know how much gold central banks say that they're holding. And that's how they'll determine the fiat money price of the gold during a reset. When we're looking at the fundamental value, so how much is gold really worth, its true value, in that case, it's just frankly easier to look at how much gold exists in the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the ground or above the ground. And that's why I always say that number is actually really conservative. But what gold and silver will do outside of the system is it will protect your purchasing power, which is what it's done for 6,000 years. And I know, Peter, that you've also heard me say that you can always convert your gold and silver into any currency, and therefore any good or any service. So if you need to barter and buy something, then you will either be able to in the future possibly do it directly, so you're not going to convert the gold and silver, you're going to use that as a tool of barter, or like say property taxes, for example, well, you're not going to take the gold or the silver to the bank. You're going to have to convert it into whatever the currency is at that time, and then you're going to immediately spend it. So no, you're absolutely right. But what I can also tell you is that for me, because of what I see happening, and even into the future with central bank digital currencies, where they can directly control the immediate value, by going into negative rates or something like that, that I intend to hold back. Like I would have, in my original plan, I would have converted a lot more into the new currency once we were done, once I was certain that there was a component of gold in the new currency and therefore it would hold its value more. But since I see what they're doing with the CBDCs, and while I do think they're still going to do that because that's what history tells us, and also they're going to have to gain public confidence again, I'm going to be withholding a lot more gold than I would have in my original strategy. And I'll convert it as I need it, but not before I need it. Not because it is ultimately convertible, but because gold retains its value because it has the greatest level of functionality of any asset. And because it is indestructible and has the broadest base of buyer. So that's key. You never really hear anybody on Wall Street talk about that. But if you want to sell something, if you want to liquidate something, and you have one buyer or you have zero buyers, that's what happens when a market implodes or when a currency collapses. There's no buyers for that currency. So, but with gold, because it is used in every single area of the global economy, you have global buyers all over the world. You have the broadest base of buyer. Does that make sense?
Well, I think what you're trying to say is that there's always demand.
Correct. Exactly.
Because of the usefulness of it, there is always demand.
Exactly. Thank you. But you can always, other currency that is stable, you tell me what fiat currency is stable out there right now. That's really why gold retains its value.
And it is the one true money. Even though we've been trained to feel like it isn't,
right?
It is the one true money for thousands of years. So it always has value because of the demand. People always want it.
Right. And I mean, for the Bank of International Settlements, and understand who these people are. They are the central bank's central bank. They are the single most powerful bank in the world. And for them to list off all of these properties about gold, it's no wonder that global central banks are accumulating it, or presumably, even if they're not accumulating it, like the U.S. hasn't changed even a 1/10 of an ounce since, I think, 52, that they say that they're holding it. You know, I mean, there are some countries that have gotten rid of it, like Canada. I don't think that's a very smart thing for them to do. But most all other central banks are holding it because they want to retain control when their fiat currencies fail. And they want to retain confidence so that those that got us into this mess can retain power. That's what gold is. It's going to give you choices. It's going to give you power. But what did the biz say? You know, it has proven itself in adverse circumstance. Do you think we're in adverse circumstance and you think it's going to get worse? If you think everything is hunky-dory and it's going to stay great, you know, it preserves. It is really an insurance policy against inflation, which robs you of your purchasing power by design. It is the only, according to the Bank for International Settlements, financial asset that runs zero counterparty risk. The only one. And in this world, you want counterparty risk or do you not want counterparty risk? That's your choice. But my favorite is when they actually said, gold held at home runs no political risk.
Yeah.
Voila! Hold it, own it. Trillion times zero. Look in Zimbabwe. They've got billionaires that can't buy an egg. So I see us having one overall world reserve currency, the SDR, and then local currencies. The U.S. will have the U.S. dollar, and you know the Chinese will have the yuan, and those will be in digital form. But I think it'll probably be the SDR. Makes the most sense to me. They have the mechanism.